Hi, and welcome back. Now that you've done the sort of second step of this lecture process, where you answer couple of short questions, remember those are not graded. They help me understand whether you're in step with what we're talking about, whether you understand what we're talking about, and I can comment directly to you if you're not, or I can adjust my future lectures if it looks like a lot of you don't get what I'm talking about. So that's kind of my process here. So we've gone through steps 1 through 4. Now we're going to talk about step 5 in this process of creating a marketing plan, and that is developing the marketing programs and strategies. So that's kind of the piece that we need to do at this point. Think about the tools in the marketing mix. So if you think about your toolbox pictured there, what are the tools that I can use in order to create a marketing strategy and program that will get me to my goal, that will make that will work, that will reach my goal, whether that goal is market share, or whether that goal is profitability, or whether that goal is just recognition that I exist, or there are lots of different kinds of goals we can have. They can be financial goals, they can be strategic goals of other sorts. And anytime we're doing this, we might find that we create some alliances with others who, in order to meet our goals and their goals simultaneously. So that's part of developing a strategy. So let's talk about the first piece of this. The marketing tools, the marketing mix, are the 4 P's. So product, price, promotion, and place, of which place, as we've talked about earlier, is the logistics portion. So these 4 P's are the tools in our toolbox. We can modify our product, we can modify our price, we can establish price and maybe even multiple prices for different channels. We can control our promotion, and we can decide where and when and how we're going to distribute our product. So let's talk about those 4 P's in detail. So product, the factors, jumped ahead there. Product is the need satisfying item you're providing. So that's an academic definition, but it's really good. What does this product provide that my customer needs, and will it satisfy it? So if we were talking about paper towels, what does my customer need? Well, they need something to clean up spills. Okay, that's a need. So that's the need satisfying item. I'm selling something that can clean up spills. Well, there's lots of things that can clean up spills. Sponges can clean up spills. Regular cloth towels can clean up spills. Paper towels can clean up spills. Tissues can clean up spills. All sorts of things can clean up spills. So what makes my product different? What need does it satisfy beyond just cleaning up spills? Well, if we compare it to a cloth towel, it's disposable. So once I've cleaned up the spill, I can throw it away. I don't have to wash it and dry it and put it back on the towel rack. So that's different. It's got a different need satisfying piece to it. So products can be tangible or intangible. Tangible goods can be consumer goods. Paper towels would be a consumer good for the most part. Or industrial goods, goods that are sold to businesses that then get reused or used in the process of whatever the business is attempting to do. And they can also be services, professional services like accounting or legal services, even marketing services. Advertising agencies sell a service. So they're selling the promotion part of the 4 P's. You might be somebody else. Product design might be something that you buy as a service rather than doing internally. Certainly what you're doing right now, you're consuming a service, you're consuming an education service. So I'm a service provider, not a product provider. And then financial services, we all work with banks, we maybe have investment accounts and so forth. So those are all financial services. So products can be any number of things. and understanding what your product is and what the need satisfying part of that is really important. What does this product provide that the customer, whoever that customer may be, needs? Pricing. Things about pricing. Well, customer perception. Does the customer perceive the price as fair? Do they perceive it as inexpensive? Do they perceive it as expensive? And what does that mean? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is inexpensive or expensive. It matters what the customer perceives. So what do they see this as? I've been traveling quite a bit, and prices for certain things vary a lot. So I'm currently just back from New Zealand, and certain things there are quite expensive relative to what I'm used to, and certain things are quite inexpensive relative to what I'm used to. That's how I perceive it. Now, native New Zealanders don't necessarily perceive those things at all in the same way. They don't perceive their butter as being cheap. They perceive it as being fairly priced. I see it as really cheap. They're a big dairy country, and they have lots of butter, and it's quite inexpensive. Whereas I'm coming from a different place, so I'm perceiving it in my own mind as cheap, as opposed to how the native New Zealander might perceive it. How is your product positioned? Pricing has a lot to do with positioning. We oftentimes equate price to quality, so the more expensive item is sometimes thought of as higher quality just because we use price as a way to measure quality. So sometimes positioning, if I'm trying to position my product as a quality or first tier product, I may need it to be more expensive than the average product just so that the customer will perceive it as the way I'm positioning it. Pricing has a lot to do with what it costs to produce, but not completely. So what does it cost to produce my item? I can sell a product for more than it costs to produce. I can't sell a product for less than it costs to produce for very long anyway. I can for some period of time, but eventually that becomes unsustainable. I can't sell something for less than I paid for it for very long. What are my competitors doing? That has a lot to do with price. So if my competitors are being very aggressive with price, I might have to be aggressive with price. If my competitors are not aggressive with price, it may give me more flexibility to be less aggressive with price. And finally, what are my objectives? Am I trying to gain market share? Am I trying to be as profitable as I can be? Am I trying to grow? Am I trying to be stable? Am I trying to move into new markets or not? All of those things. What are my objectives? What am I trying to achieve with my pricing? So those pieces all come into the pricing equation. The place equation. Here's your definition. How, when, and where to make the goods and services, my goods and services, available to consumers. And I do that in lots of different ways. If you think about consumer or industrial products, they are often sold through different channels. When you go to a Walmart and buy Cheerios, the maker of the Cheerios is not Walmart. General Mills made the Cheerios, and they sold them into a distribution channel, of which Walmart is one of the distribution channels that they use. So they sell goods to Walmart, and then Walmart resells them to you. They are a channel partner of General Mills. General Mills has lots of channel partners. They have local grocery stores. They perhaps have convenience stores. They have big box stores like Walmart, and maybe they have online channels like Amazon. I assume you can probably buy Cheerios from Amazon as well. So lots of different types of channel partners. Those channels are really important, and the manufacturer gets to set the channels. They get to decide who should be in their channel. They don't have to sell to Walmart. You can't buy Nikes at Walmart. There's a reason. Not that Walmart couldn't sell a lot of Nikes, but Nike chooses not to use Walmart as a distribution channel for a number of reasons, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. And then how am I going to get it there? Am I going to ship large containers and quantity to a single location? Am I going to split the goods and ship them in smaller quantities to multiple locations? Will I have distribution centers? Will I have all of those are place decisions? And I guess a place decision that isn't even included on this list would be geographic place. I might choose to just sell in one geographic area, one country, or one region within a country, as opposed to selling everywhere. I guess if I was selling snow shovels, I probably wouldn't have a lot of channel partners in Florida. And if I was selling what's something you might use in the south and not in the north? Not sure. We all use air conditioners, I guess. But at any rate, lots of questions in that place part. And then promotion, the P promotion includes all of the following: advertising, which we all know about; public relations, which is essentially non-paid advertising. So this is advertising where we're talking to a non-paid, let's say a news reporter, and telling them about our product, and that PR then gets out, that public relations gets in the newspaper as a non-paid piece of communication, and hopefully gets read by potential customers in the newspaper. Steve Jobs and Apple are kings of public relations. They get their new products, they build so much hype around their new products that media covers it. So they end up on the front pages of magazines and in newspapers and in television and internet reports. What's the next iPhone going to look like? Well, that's advertising in a sense, but it's what's called PR. Apple is not paying for that discussion about their products, but they are to a certain extent manipulating the media to talk about those products. And that's what public relations is. Sales promotion, that would be today only 20% off kind of thing. Personal selling, that's a salesperson who actually calls and talks to the customer. That happens more in B2B than in business to consumer, but it does happen in business to consumer. Direct marketing is the kind of things you see, direct mail marketing and or direct marketing, late night TV, where you can buy the fancy thing that works in the kitchen and get a free this and a free that and a free the other thing. That's direct marketing on television. And of course, in the last 10 or 15 years, social media has become a huge part of promotion. So kind of related, some of it's paid, some of it's not paid, so it's advertising and PR through social media. So there you go. You've got your product, price, promotion, and channel or place all fitting into the market, all fitting into the where is this? All four of these things are fitting into the marketing mix, and you've got all of the pieces there for product, for pricing, for promotion, and for channel. So if you look at promotion, you've got the things we just talked about. If you look at product, I don't think we talked about it. We talked about product quality, variety, features, brand, packaging, labeling, warranties, and other things. And pricing, we've got all sorts of different prices. We might have multiple prices for different kinds of people. Last time you rode on an airplane, I bet the person next to you paid a different price for their seat than you paid for yours. We'll talk a little bit about that kind of pricing as well. And then finally, we may choose to have alliances. If we sell through channels, we are allying ourselves with our retailers and our wholesalers. And there are other kinds of channel members that we might use. So in the logistics world, we use various kinds of transportation firms. We may use bonded warehouses or third-party warehouses through third-party logistics providers, all sorts of intermediaries. Suppliers, we need to have suppliers, whatever it is that we're producing, even if it's a service, so we have suppliers. Partners, we may have other manufacturers and or other vendors that we work with to provide our product, and those become core providers. If you're working on a computer right now and it happens to be a PC, you'll look and you'll see maybe Intel's name on the PC, and you'll probably see Windows name on the Microsoft's name on the PC, because those are partners of whatever your PC maker is. So those are partners, and then your alliance with your community and your customers is really, really important. So setting up value-added alliances with customers can be incredibly powerful and incredibly important, and provide a lot of value. We're going to spend a lot of time on this step 6 later in the course. Mechanisms to measure. How do we know whether we're getting where we want to go? Measurement is really important. It's oftentimes difficult, but if we don't measure, we don't know if we're succeeding. So we have to figure out measurements that allow us to know whether we're getting where we want to go. Really, really important. Really difficult to do well, and oftentimes missed by marketers, because they put together the marketing plan and then they run with it, and they forget that these things are never perfect and there are no right answers. So we may have done it well, or we may not have done it well, and we need to constantly work to improve it. We also, at the end of the road here, customer service becomes just as important as the product. And this usually happens after the sale, so we've already made the sale, but we have to provide good customer service. If we do, we get positive feedback from our consumers. They both are happy with their purchase, may buy again and from us if they are happy with their purchase, and in this social media world, they'll talk about it both to their friends and on social media about how they're happy with the product. So helps the reputation of the business, refers new customers, definitely differentiates you from competitors, and there's no faster way to lose customers than poor service. So after sales service, very, very important. So this is a real overview chapter. So we've done the overview, and we're pretty much finished with that. Those 6 pieces that we looked at, the 6 steps that we talked about in that circle way back at the beginning of when I started talking to you about chapter 1. These are just some things that you need to think about when you're working in marketing. First of all, change happens. It happens all the time. It's sometimes uncomfortable, but it always happens. And it's very important to expect it. You know that whatever you do is not cast in stone. It's going to have to change, because change will happen. And you have to react and hopefully anticipate the change. And if you don't anticipate, you definitely have to react to the change. Relationships are incredibly important, both internally in the organization and externally with your customers, with your suppliers, with your partners. So that's kind of number 4, seek alliances. I know in my own businesses that I ran, having alliances with my suppliers as well as my customers was really, really important. And that sort of defined what I did. So having those preferred suppliers that you allied with was really, really important for me. Get everybody involved, and innovation is the highest, provides the highest value in most industries. If you can innovate, come up with better ways to do things, better ways to make things, making your product better, your service better, you're going to be successful. So that wraps up part 2 of chapter 1, and there's a few questions following, and that also wraps up week 1. There are no specific assignments for week 1. This is a get acquainted and get your feet wet week, and next week we'll move on to chapter 2. Thanks very much.